I am a man running from his past. Try as he might, a man can run and run and run, but the past will always catch him in the end.
You could just about paper the walls with all them rejection letters.
I know I may not be the best writer, but I've just got something in my way.
You write trash. You are trash.
Thankfully, the old ball and chain is dead. 6 feet under. Okay. Nothing but a guilty mind, Dilf. Oh, not even that, because you ain't guilty. You ain't guilty. Oh, you're not real. 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 Okay. Oh damn, you real.
Running from the buzz. What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening. I'm just a young man.
Constables is filmed on location. All guilty suspects are punished to the fullest extent of the law.
What? 2 feet wide, 4 feet long, 3 feet deep. Quite small for a grave, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Miss Starlight McCracken is one of those little folk from the circus. I tell you, Kane, it has me baffled. Who digs a grave and doesn't fill it in? Who leaves an unfilled grave unfilled after their wife has gone missing, knowing full well we'll come and find it?
Because old Dilfred McCracken did fill it in. He left his old lady for dead.
Buried alive and out for vengeance against the man who left her for dead. Tale as old as time.
Well, you're spot on with the revenge and the leaving her for dead part, but it's the buried alive part that you're dead wrong about. You smell that finger? Huh? Death. Your darn tootin' finger. See what we got right here? It's another tale as old as time. Zombie, back from the dead, out for revenge against the man who did her wrong. Yeah. See, old Dilfred McCracken, he's a marked man, and he's got 1 or 2 fates awaiting him. Justice from the law. Or, well, revenge for his undead, brain-munching wife. We'll see who gets him first, huh? Indeed. Well, she ain't the Ritz, but she'll ruin a pinch. If I want to stay a few steps ahead of Johnny Law, can't be too picky on where I hang my old hat, huh? Justice. Vengeance. 2 sides of the same coin. Heck, the 2 are so imperceptibly similar at times, we may as well invent a word called, Gingens, or Vustis, or just Vindiscence. The law wants to deal out justice for what I had done to my wife, bashing her on the head so hard her eyes went crossed. But the thing is, I wanted justice for what my wife had done to me, nagging and belittling me, saying things like, oh, here's a loser, you know, a deadbeat, somebody the square community won't give a shit about. Revenge. It's the bread and butter of Big Driver, the second novella in Stephen King's 2010 collection, Full Dark, No Stars. In many ways, it's the logical conclusion to the preceding novella in 1922. You see, in 1922, we have Nebraska farmer Wilfred Leland James murder his wife because she's causing him all sorts of troubles. But murdering her turns out to be the easy part. And aside from a few sweat-inducing close calls, dodging the law and nosy neighbors turns out to be not so bad either.
Try his lemonade, Sheriff.
But it's the living with the guilt that eats poor old Wilfred alive. Quite literally, he's eaten alive by rats. In Big Driver, we almost see the flip side of the coin. Here we have Tess, a 30-something single woman, raped and left for dead in a creek. Now, for those who do evil deeds, leaving their victims for dead, but not dead, is just about as good a guarantee as you'll get that they'll come back and make sure you're not only left for dead, but that you stay dead.
Come and get it.
Of the 4 novellas in this collection, Big Driver seems to be the least well regarded. Now, this could be due to a number of reasons. Stories of sexual assault, even if they end in the victim getting her just vengeance and moving on with her life, well, they tend not to be massive crowd pleasers. But the answer may even be more obvious. It just ain't as good as the other novellas in this collection. Now, not bad per se, just overshadowed by other far superior novellas. Especially coming right after the Juggernaut first novella in 1922, to many, Big Driver seems a bit of a letdown.
This is a bummer, man.
Terrence Rafferty, book critic of the New York Times, says Big Driver is a bit too easy for King. And that with Big Driver and the 3rd novella, Fair Extension, the Full Dark No Stars collection loses its way for a while.
Where are ya? I got turned around in here.
In his review of Full Dark No Stars, Neil Gaiman, writer of such modern-day fantasy classics as The Sandman and American Gods, says that
King's voice in Big Driver is easy, comfortable reading, deceptively so.
Even though Gaiman calls the novella
An efficient revenge fantasy, but it is the only one of the stories in which the beats were predictable, and for me, it was the least satisfying.
that New York Times book critic who said Big Driver was a bit too easy for King, well, listen, he actually had a lot of nice stuff to say about the Full Dark No Stars collection as a whole. Gosh, if only there was an actor around to perform critic Terrence Rafferty's glowing praise of FDNS.
I'm something of an actor myself.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph, I thought you're a bunch of old rags down there.
You asked for an actor, and by Adler, an actor you shall have. You are Terrence Rafferty, book critic of the New York Times, subscribed to by many but read by few. You, Mr. Rafferty, you enjoy a nice cognac paired with a freshly plucked duck that you have hunted on your Dutchess County estate in New York, which belonged to none other than General Nathan Bedford grandfather. This is art operative for the French against the Chinese in the Second Opium War. You, Mr. Rafferty, are but a mortal. You, Mr. Rafferty, are but a man. King at 63 still writes with the verve and glee and heedless ease of a very young man. He has not mellowed perceptibly. He has not put aside childish things. When you're reading the grisly tales in Full Dark No Stars, carried along by his rollicking, vivid prose, you think, if you're thinking at all, God help him, this man is having fun.
Are we having
A writer
fun
who
yet?
takes such unabashed joy in the act of storytelling is a rarity. This naked pleasure is King's secret ingredient. It makes his work, good or bad, weirdly irresistible, even addictive, and it disarms criticism as boyish enthusiasm often does. You might also think, as I do, that the long suspense story Big Driver, about a woman who suffers and then violently avenges a roadside rape, is a bit too easy for King. You could think that, but you wouldn't really feel good about it.
That was truly powerful, my hobo friend. So with all this hubbub about how meh Big Driver is. I think I'll take my chances with the law. Oh, good heavens, boy. Dilfy ain't as spry as he used to be. Revenge. As human beings, it has consumed us since, well, heck, even before we were human beings. I'm sure there was once some Neanderthal got all hot and bothered when he came home early one day from hunting mammoths, only to find his best Neanderthal friend sleeping with his own Neanderthal wife. So our mammoth hunting Neanderthal, he goes and gets the biggest skull darn rock he can find and bludgeons those cheap Neanderthal devils over their darn noggins so their brains splatter all over. Old Dilfy's imagination got away with him, didn't it?
Imagination.
Point being, we human beings, we aren't a very forgiving bunch. Boy, oh boy, do we love us some revenge.
This is the story of a man who decided to clean up the most violent town in the world. Call him a mad vigilante. Call him a hero. Either way, he's always on target. Never make a death wish. Because a death wish always comes true.
When reading Big Driver, one quickly notices that, as a tale of revenge, Stephen King is clearly more concerned about aligning it with a legacy, not of the literary variety, but of the filmic. He's written a story that announces itself as one belonging less to the long line of revenge literature and more to revenge movies. And in Big Driver, name checks 3. The Brave One, Death Wish, and Kiss of Death. All movies, all about revenge, and each one marking a specific milestone in revenge cinema. Going in reverse chronological order, let's begin with The Brave One, the 2007 revenge drama directed by Neil Jordan and starring Jodie Foster. Now, Foster plays a talk radio personality who is brutally assaulted in Central Park. When she awakens from her coma, she discovers that her fiancé, played by the man who played Saeed in Lost, wasn't so lucky.
If I see you again, it'll be extremely unpleasant for us both.
So begins her vigilante killing spree to protect the innocent victims of New York violence. The Brave One plays as a sort of spiritual sequel to The Accused, the 1988 drama for which Foster won her first Best Actress Academy Award. In that film, Foster's gang raped in a bar, and in an unusual and audacious move, her prosecutor, played by Top Gun's Kelly McGillis, seeks to bring not only the rapists themselves to justice, but also anyone at the bar who cheered on the assault. Both films grapple with the limits of the justice system. The idea that just because the facts and the truth are on your side, that don't make a bit of difference in justice swinging your way.
Do you believe she was raped?
Yes, but I can't win it.
And why can't you nail him?
Because I follow the law.
Well, there's nothing you can do.
Nothing that's legal.
If the plot of The Brave One sounds familiar, it's because it very closely resembles Death Wish, the seminal revenge film from 1974, starring Charles Bronson, a man whose squinty eyes and thin mustache have become synonymous with revenge. In Death Wish, Bronson's wife and daughter are assaulted by street punks. Bronson's wife is killed, and his daughter's traumatized into a shell of her former self. The seeds of Bronson's vigilantism are planted at the precinct.
Any chance of catching these men?
There's a chance, sure.
Just a chance.
I'd be less than honest if I gave you more hope, Mr. Kersey. That's the way it is.
So begins Bronson's spree of nightly vigilantism in the dark streets of New York. If the cops won't do something about violent crime, by God, Charles Bronson will.
If the police don't defend us, maybe we ought to do it ourselves.
Name dropping Death Wish finish, and the brave one drives home a very important point Stephen King is making in Big Driver. Tess would love nothing more than for the police to catch her rapist and throw his ass in jail for a long, long time. But she also knows real life don't play out that way.
But for that to occur, she would have to report what had happened. And the moment this idea came into her mind, she saw a glaring black New York Post-style headline, Willow Grove Scribe, raped after lecture.
See, Tess knows that no matter her accomplishments as both a writer and a woman,
she could visualize someone raising a hand during question time and asking, did you in any way encourage him?
All sorts of scenarios flood Tess's mind, but all of them inexorably lead to the same dead end for her. Shame. As King crassly puts it,
the world would know a crazy, grinning giant had shot his load inside of the Willow Grove Scribe.
Last and most important to Stephen King's revenge narrative is the 1947 film noir, Kiss of Death. What sets this film apart from the other two is that Tess ties herself not to the protagonist, but to the villain. In Kiss of Death, Victor Mature plays Nick Bianco, a desperate man caught up in a jewelry heist gone bad. Is there any other kind? He refuses the DA's offer for less jail time if he'll squeal on his accomplices, but after 3 long years of doing time, losing his wife to suicide and his 2 daughters to an orphanage, Bianco at last agrees to work with the DA and give up the goods on vicious, sociopathic killer Tommy Udo, played by Richard Widmark.
I'm Tommy Udo.
I've heard of you.
You did, huh? Huh. Imagine me in on this cheap rap. Big man like me. Picked up just for shoving a guy's ears off his head. Traffic ticket stuff.
It's Richard Widmark specifically that Stephen King references again and again in Big Driver. And it's this crazed killer that Tess identifies with. Widmark's Tommy Udo is, after all, seeking revenge against Bianco for ratting him out. Certainly not a noble cause, but it's this self-identification with a cold-blooded killer that in some ways keeps Tess grounded to her cause. She knows her journey will lead to death, either for her or her rapist, and she can never forget that her ultimate goal at its purest, most basic level is to become like Widmark's Tommy Udo. That is to say, to become a killer.
Come on, rip the other eye! Come on, tear it out of his head, come on!
King's reference to Richard Widmark starts out as nothing more than your casual Easter egg. Miss Ramona Norville, the librarian who invited Tess on her ill-fated journey to lecture at the Chicopee Public Library, has a big signed photo of Widmark on her office wall. Later, back home after Tess's adrenaline has died down from her brutal rape that left her for dead in a ditch, it is this image of Richard Widmark that sneaks its way into her brain and leads her down a path of vengeance. King writes.
First, she went to YouTube and typed in Richard Widmark, with no idea at all why she was doing it. No conscious one, anyway.
YouTube, your one-stop shop for videos about the work of Stephen King and inspiration for your blizzard of vengeance. A truly remarkable platform. Now, I must note here King's devil-may-care narrative shortcuts in Big Driver. Shortcuts some may even dub as lazy. You see, Tess needs to track down her rapist, and what gets her there is connecting the dots that Big Driver's mother is none other than the librarian Ramona Norville herself. This discovery is all kicked off by Tess YouTubing Richard Widmark and the narrative convenience of her having no idea at all why she was doing it, no conscious one anyway. See, the video she finds of Richard Widmark is a famous scene from Kiss of Death, one wherein he throws an old lady in a wheelchair down a flight of stairs. Upon finishing it, she turns to her cat Fritzy and muses.
I wish Richard Widmark had met Jodie Foster instead of the old lady in the wheelchair. Don't you?
It's just my overactive but very not guilty imagination roaming up figments of ghosts and phantasms and the like. Yeah, that's where was I? Richard Widmark? Kiss of Death. Right. The whole thing comes full circle when at last Tess pays the librarian Ramona Norville a visit after discovering that she, in fact, sent Tess on that shortcut to purposefully feed her son's dark and twisted desires.
Ramona, she said, I'm feeling a certain kinship to Richard Widmark right now. This is what we do to squealers, honey.
Tess closes in on a terrified and blood-slicked Ramona.
Although she still felt no regret or remorse, Tess found that in spite of her big talk, she had very little inner Tommy Udo. She had no urge to watch or prolong Norville's suffering. She bent and picked up the 38.
And we all know where it goes from here. Oh.
Mama's home with the vengeance.
Well, that right there is a ghost.
See, my boy is getting a bit sloppy.
He lugs that murder weapon all over the place, only to leave it here. He must have been in some kind of hurry. Let's gotta ask ourselves, why? Jesus, Mary and Joseph, I thought that was a bunch of old rags.
This man we're after, Dilfred J. McCracken. You haven't seen him, have you?
I spent time with him. Quality time. I even reenacted a quote from a New York Times book critic using my thespionic skills. You want to see it? I can put it on for you right now.
No, sir. No, thank you. We're actually a bit short on time.
I probably need to workshop it a little anyway. I'll let you know when I get it on its feet.
Actually, we're going to be busy that day. Or that night. Or whenever you'll do a no play. We're busy. We're very, very busy. Detective Finger and Kane. We're like busy little bees, in fact.
Calm down, looks like we're close. So is our competition.
Competition?
Those, right there, that's the same set of footprints that were leading away from Darlette's grave. Indeed. Looks like our zombie bride is hot on his heels. And yet, what? The trail's gone cold.
Oh, gentlemen. First principles, gentlemen. Simplicity. Read Marcus Aurelius. Of each particular thing, ask, what is it in itself? What is its nature? What does he do, this man you seek?
He's on the run after murdering his wife.
No, that's incidental. What is the first and principal thing he does? What need does he serve by killing his wife?
Anger. Revenge.
I was gonna say revenge.
No! He seeks justice. That's his nature, as it is the nature of all of us. To him, killing his wife was an act of justice, for what he perceived as life dealing him a bad hand. What he calls justice, you call vengeance. And when you catch this man, you will be serving justice, or what some call legal vengeance.
Enough of this darn pontificate!
This man you hunt, he has begun to cross over. He will soon be more hobo than man. It's getting very cold out. And herein lies one of the deepest conflicts to plague the hobo since the beginning of time. To stay warm at the cost of being seen. For much to the chagrin of the hobo, warmth is not invisible to the law.
He's gonna build a fire!
And in so doing build his own demise. Fare thee well, gentlemen.
I am a man running from his past. Try as he might, a man can run and run and run, but the past will always catch him in the end. My past is haunted by the guilt of murdering my dear Darlette. Come and get me, Darlette. I am here for your taking, but I'll be damned if the law gets me first.
Well, the credits are rolling,
It's time to enjoy karaoke time with me, Death, and Lloyd.
Yes.
It might not be good, but at least we try. Now before you jet back to your life, make sure to like and hit subscribe. Leave a comment about what's on your mind. And if you're our #1 fan, have your credit card in hand. Scroll on down to click the link below. It's one in the description, right down there. To the Stephen Kingdom Patreon. Whether you're from Portland, Maine, or Oregon, join our quartet, support the show. At the Stephen Kingdom Patreon, exclusive content you will find on Amazon. It's all yours. You support our show, right, Dad?
It's coming for you. You can't drive home now. I'm gonna take your motorcycle. Give me your keys, man.
God help him. This man is having fun.